everybody, welcome back to our video series. This is our last gardening tip video before our next month's Q&A. So I just wanted to take a little time and explain to you how you have to care for your pond if you're lucky enough to have a pond or some type of water feature in your yard. So Diane right now is going to cut back all the foliage that can contaminate the water in your pond. So it comes back within a week. Actually, we do this weekly. So every week we have to scrub the pond, we have to vacuum the pond, trim the pond, scrub the rocks of the pond. So I just wanted to start off the video right now just explaining to you how you have to maintain your water features in your yard so it wouldn't cause algae and disease to your plants. We also have some lily pads that come up and down. Right now we're testing them out to make sure they were still alive, and as you can see they are still alive. So we'll be putting these back into the pond so that during the summer they can bloom into the proper flowering pink lily pad that we normally get. Now is the best time to move any plants around that have spread out, especially these irises. Irises, they're typically grown along a side of a wall to enhance a gate, the back of a fence, whatever. But I like to plant them in clumps. So when you end up planting them in clumps, they start to spread. And this, right now, spring is the best time, actually before they bloom, to be able to pop them out, just like Irene is doing there, and move them to the locations that you actually want. The irises, there's certain things that can be pruned in the spring, which is your shrubs, all your shrubs, irises, any flowers that you planted. It's okay to plant stuff in your gardens every year and then you don't like it the next year, or it came up and you're like, I shouldn't have put it there. It's okay to dig it up in the spring and move it, and it'll be successful. So right now Irene's gonna end up moving all these irises that grew within our oregano, and she's gonna clump them and put them alongside this empty space that we have over here. And that's what she's working in now. And also, it's also a good time to pick up all these weeds. And so these weeds right here, you see how long that root is? You really should dig it out, because if you leave a partial part of the root in there, it's gonna come back. After you dig out all your weeds, then you kind of spray it with a weed protection, mulch it, rock it, or just leave it alone, and you shouldn't have another problem this spring or summer. So right here we have our peppermint and our spearmint growing, and throughout the winter, if you didn't take care of your weeds or whatnot, of course they're going to come back. So the best thing to do is to prep your beds by de-weeding it. We have already harvested some peppermint and spearmint in our last curbside, but as you could see, this right here didn't make it, and you don't want it to cause disease into your soil, so you're going to take it out. Till your soil, even if it is by hand, to loosen up the ground so that it will cause the roots to spread out. This right here, this little weed is dangerous. So if you see these in your flower beds, yeah, they look really pretty, but it's a weed and it will overtake and kill all your flowers. So make sure that you get all this weed out of any of your beds that you planted, because it will kill it. These are just two little easy things we bought. Actually, I bought this at Menards. It was less than $20. It comes with two attachments, one for edging, which it has like the scissors part, and this right here is
for hedges, and I don't need them real expensive tools. This is actually perfect for the amount of work that we have here. We did the Main Street spiral trees and it worked perfectly. So I just want to come around and show you, like, you'll get trees starting in your bed. You need to take them out, dig them out if you can't pull them out. You have all these dead stems from plants that didn't survive the winter. You need to get it out because they'll cause rot, especially if you're growing edible stuff. If you're growing edible stuff, it's going to it'll take over your bed. So if we walk this way, this is all the peppermint. And Ryan, can you smell it? When I touched it? Yeah. It's really cool. The peppermint, and this is the spearmint. Just like I showed you before, with peppermint and spearmint, you also have to be careful because it will overtake your bed. So the best way, if you want to grow peppermint and spearmint, is to buy it, plant it in probably a 3-gallon container, cut the bottom out, stick it in the ground, and that way it won't spread in your garden. It'll contain itself to the container and grow out that way. And then you just keep cutting it back so it doesn't spread. This is what I was telling you about the irises, that I myself do not like to plant my irises along a wall. I like clumps where you could see it. As you can see, it's like small clumps of flowers, and then once the flowers die off, you just have this beautiful foliage. So I'm going to show you how easy. As you can see, this boxwood is starting to grow its new leaves. This is the time you want to train your boxwood. If you want a spear, if you want a diamond shape, or like the Christmas tree shape, that's how you do it. You never cut more than 1/3 of the bush or tree that you want to shape into the shape that you want. I did want to mention that you never cut a flowering tree or a flowering bush until after it blooms. After it blooms, then you're able to train it so that its buds can form for the following year, because that's how it does. That's how it grows. Your flowering trees and bushes produce their buds for the following year throughout the summer. So wait till the flowers die to trim it. So basically it's preference, your preference, how you want it. But I always start from the bottom and just work my way up, trying to form it into the spear that I like. It's your own taste. I like short bottoms and round tops. You might have to use a clipper at first because they have last year's hardwood stems on them. I'm sure a more powerful one would work, but I like this one because I can control it, because usually the other ones are super long. The blades are super long. It's easier to cut the plant off. So you always just start from the bottom, angle it so that it kind of comes around and back to this way. I'll show you some that we've already done on the front because it does take a little time, and it just will take a lot of time. So like, even if you wanted to, if you had, like, if you can tell, this has a, but it's okay to just trim it, cut it off. You could trim it by hand. If you don't have a tool, it takes a little bit more time, but it's done. A good set. These are my favorite. I just got these at Menards. They're my favorite. They lock, they stay sharp. These are my favorite. I don't know the name of them. I will try to put oh, actually I do. These are my favorite. These are absolute, and they're like $6, I think, but they last. So that's what I'm going to do to all these bushes right here, is round them off. As you can see, this one last year I did pretty round, so it kind of kept its shape. Another thing, tip, is to make sure that you cut off all the dead branches. Now, there are hydrangeas that grow on old stems. So that means You see, this was an old stem from last year. So when you trim these, you trim them before the winter is over. So like right at November, December, before that hard freeze comes, you'll trim it all back, and then leave it alone, and then the new growths will grow on old stems. So this grows on old wood. So if you trim it back all the way to the bottom, you might kill this plant. There's some that you could cut back all the way back. It just depends on what type of hydrangea you buy. But most of them, I would leave about this much. You always try to leave 30% of the plant so that it has enough strength to grow. And we have a roll of them on here. These are actually doing, this one might have been cut back a little too small. As you can see, look at this one. But this is the time that you see where your new growth is growing, and you see the stems that didn't make it. So then you just kind of go back and try to cut it back as close as you can to the main root. Remember that when you cut at an angle. You never cut bluntly, because when you cut bluntly, it can cause you to have infection in your plant, and you can lose your plant. You get spider mites. You just can cause a lot of diseases. Other than that, I would just till the soil, pick up all the weeds that I have here, remulch, spray it down with some chemicals so that the weeds do not come back, and then remulch, and your garden should be beautiful. So that's all that I really have. If you have any questions, please leave a message, and I will make sure that I get to any questions or comments that you have. Thank you again, and my name is Hilda. I'm the supervisor of the Chicago Greenhouse, along with my staff. I could never do this by myself without my staff. Thank you so much. Have a great day.